right, so JIC, this is Search Week. Do you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, hi, I'm Alex. I'm VP of CAD. So my role is basically this, helping you guys go on exchange. So this is Amanda, this is Guylaine. We're here to help you guys with any of your questions. And this is our Reality of Exchange seminar. Amanda's going to be talking a lot about the academic process of applying for exchange. And then I'm going to talk a little bit at the end and just give some tips and advice of what I found helpful from when I was on exchange. And if you couldn't tell, I went to Sweden this time last year. I was there, and I'm actually planning to go on a second exchange, and I'm trying to go to the Netherlands. So Amanda will start us off with some of the academic part of the application process.
So, well, I'm Amanda Holt, the elusive Amanda Holt, because I've just got back from sick leave, so I apologize for abandoning you briefly this fall semester, but you were left in good hands. This is Guylaine Paul. Guylaine and I have worked together for a very long time now. She replaced me on my second mat leave, and my daughter's just about to turn 7, so that's how long she's been with us. And we work together as a team in the undergraduate programs office, and we have both worked together on exchange and study abroad programs for many years, and we've both lived and worked in different countries in different parts of the world. We've traveled abroad extensively ourselves, so we know what it's like to live in another country. Guylaine also can tell you a little bit about studying abroad as well.
Hi, I'm Guylaine. I'm originally from Haiti, and I was very lucky to have traveled and worked and studied abroad in different countries. I studied in Spain, in Valencia. I worked in Puerto Rico. I worked in Switzerland. I worked in Germany. I lived in New York. So I have a lot of the experience overseas.
And I worked for an NGO. I lived and worked all over Europe and North America. So out of everybody asked me everywhere that I've lived. Hi. Joelle Mass has joined us, who's the president of JIC. I've been all over Europe, traveling and working, and I think out of all the countries I have worked and lived in, the country that I was the most drawn to, which really surprised me because I really thought it would be Ireland because that's where my family's from, but it was Germany. I fell in love with Germany when I was working in Germany and living in Germany. And anywhere in the world, if I had a chance to go back, it would be Germany, Germany, Germany. But I've been through parts of Asia, I've been all over Europe and in the States, and I can tell you too, nobody here in the room when we were coming in, we're talking about going on exchange. We sent a lot of students on exchange to the U.S. all the time from JMSB. In fact, it's one of the most competitive places to go on exchange from the JMSB. A lot of our students want to go to the U.S. on exchange for many, many reasons. And having worked in the U.S., and I know you have as well, there's culture shock as a Canadian when you live in the U.S. as well. It's not something that we think of as a foreign country necessarily when it's that place that we border shop to and go down for weekends to New York and Boston. But when you go somewhere in the U.S., completely different than just those northern states that we call our neighbors, and you go and live there, it's really a cultural exchange. So I want you to think about that too, because it can open a lot of career doors for you too if you head out to California and different areas of the world. So let's go on to the next slide.
Just a quick note, because there's a lot of you, just please hold your questions to the end. If you have anything, just write it down and make it answered eventually throughout the presentation, but just keep the questions to the end, please.
Yeah, because we've got a full house today. There's a lot of you. So if we run out of chairs, you can sit on the credentials on the side or buddy up. So first of all, JIC is an amazing committee here at the John Wilson School of Business. They've been around for a very long time now. They do amazing work to support students who are going abroad on exchange, like Joelle and Alex here. They can give you lots of information to support you through the exchange application process. They can support you when you come back from exchange too, because we're going to talk about that towards the end of the presentation too. You know, there's a lot to coming home from exchange that we don't talk about. You've changed. The one thing that you need to start thinking about as well, though, is that they support all the incoming exchange students in the business program. So if you want to get the real source of information on what it's like to study in Copenhagen, Barcelona, Shanghai, all these places that you guys have mentioned, those exchange students are here right now, and they're studying, and they're doing stuff with their buddies. They're doing events with JIC every week, and you can meet these students. And trust me, they have been primed as ambassadors from their home institutions. They are here and they are proud to be from whatever school they are representing. And they would love to sit down for a cup of coffee with you. They'd love for you to take them around somewhere in Montreal and show them your Montreal in exchange for them telling you all about their school. A lot of times our exchange students, by the time they get to their host institution, if they've got involved with a committee like JIC and they've met students, they already have friends in the country they're going to be going to because they've met those students. I don't know about you, but I know that Lund wasn't the top school when you came to see me when you wanted to go on exchange.
No. Now it is because all I do is talk about it. I don't shut up about it.
Exactly. Sometimes when you meet somebody who has been to that country on exchange, like Alex went to Sweden, to Lund, or you meet somebody who's here on exchange from that country, it may not be a school that is even on your radar. Like you could maybe thought you'd never want to go to Scandinavia. But I guarantee you, for all of you students who are thinking about Singapore, if you spend 5 minutes with her, I bet you Lund may be your second choice. If it's not your first, it may be your second choice because she's so passionate about what an amazing experience she had going to the school. So do get involved. Speak to Joelle. She's our president, our JIC president, about how to get involved, about all the events. It's Search Week this week at JMSB. So, go online, see all the events, get involved, meet the students from JMSB who have been on exchange. Take advantage of all those one-on-one networking opportunities, okay? So that's my plug for JIC. Awesome, okay? Awesome, can't say enough about them. Now, for those of us who are paid to help you, there's two offices. All right, so there's 2 offices. The first is the central office for exchange. It's Concordia International. Hands up, how many of you have been to an information session at Concordia International? Yay, okay, we have a good 2/3 of the room who have been. You must attend an information session at Concordia International to be eligible to apply. Today's the last day that they're hosting one before the February 1st application deadline.
At 3 p.m.
At 3
3 p.m. So call your employer if you're scheduled to work. If you want to apply February 1st, you have an information session to go to or you can't apply.
The address is 2080 Mackay.
2080 Mackay.
3 o'clock.
Annex X, easy. It's a treasure hunt. Remember that. X marks the spot. It's the place to be. 3 o'clock today for the information session. If you still have questions, go back. Okay, so Concordia International is the central office for exchange. They are in charge of everything para-academic. So they do absolutely everything that has to do with non-academic. So the actual application. So what is required of the application, the deadline, how you upload documents. I get a lot of students that email me or call me asking me because they're having trouble uploading documents. I don't know. Don't ask me. That's not my department, okay? But all of the application goes through them. If you have a professor that can only get the referral in, the reference form in, a week after, you have to ask them. It's not my office, okay? Everything goes through them with the application. They're in charge of all of the bursary and the funding. They're the ones who are going to give you information on health insurance, travel insurance, all of that stuff. They're the ones who are going to code your transcript for studies outside of Quebec. They're going to charge you tuition. Okay, they're going to give you a refund if you're eligible at the end, if you only did 12 credits abroad instead of 15. They're going to explain all of that to you. What we do, okay, what Guylaine and I do with Dr. Kinan is that we are the ones who approve for you to go to the school they've selected by providing approval for your courses, okay? And that means that we want to work with you, okay, to make sure that you're advancing your degree. We are the only office that gets audited by the Quebec government, by the Ministry of Education. We're the only one who reports back to the Ministry of Education for your study abroad. Okay, we're the only ones who can tell you what courses you can take abroad for credit, yes or no. Okay, we are your academics. Okay, so what we do is we're the ones who will tell you yes or no you can go on exchange, yes or no what courses you can do, yes or no what grade you got abroad is going to transfer back, and I'm going to talk about this later on. I know you're all got questions. I can see you kind of moving around in your seats now, getting uncomfortable. I'll tell you what you have to do. Okay, but it is us that makes all those determining factors. So everything non-academic goes through Concordia International. Everything academic goes through us. And academic includes registration. So registration meaning pertaining to the JMSB. So for instance, if you're going to be going on exchange and we need to change around some of your courses before you go on exchange because we've got to change sometimes we have to waive a prerequisite and move some courses around because we found a course where you're going abroad and we want to save it for later. Okay? So we might have to waive the prerequisites. A good example is COM 315. It's the only course nobody can do abroad. Okay? Anybody know why?
Because we learn Quebec's law.
Thank you. COM 315 is business law and ethics. It's Quebec law, so you have to do it here. It's the only course you absolutely have to do here. Everything else is open. Okay, so sometimes we might waive the prerequisites for COM 315 if you have certain prerequisites for it and are maybe just missing one so that you can do it before you go on exchange to open up other COMs for you to reserve for the exchange program. Okay, so we do stuff like that. Let's say you went away on exchange and you did COM 308 on exchange. I have a lot of students that do COM 305 or COM 308 on exchange. Some of our tough courses, they want to try to do it abroad and not do it here. And then they can't register for, let's say, COM 320 when they get back. It's us that takes care of waiving the prerequisites here and registering you back here at the JMSB. So all those academic things we take care of here. All right?
Should also stress that it's Concordia International.
Yes. So Concordia International are the office that is in charge of the application. They're also the ones in charge of selecting who goes where. Okay? So just so that you understand the process, JMSB sends typically about 200 undergraduate students a year on exchange. I'd love to triple that number. There's no reason why more students aren't going on exchange. It's a fantastic program, and there's funding. If you haven't heard of the MERS bursary, get out there, because there's money being thrown at you. Trust me. As a parent, if your parents knew this, that there was free money being thrown at you, they'd be like, go, go. But it's a fantastic program, and I'd love more and more students to go. The program is designed such that you make your application to Concordia International. Okay. JMSB sends upwards of 200 students abroad a year right now. What we do at JMSB, because we're different than the other faculties, everything just comes through us. Okay. In other faculties, let's say there's 400 students from arts and science that go away on exchange a year, okay? But out of that 400, there may only be 3 mathematics majors, right? It's a huge faculty, right? Arts and science. So those 3, let's say I'm using an example, let's say those 3 mathematics students, they go to their advisor. There's 2 advisors in the mathematics department. Those 2 advisors have only 3 students that they have to look at for 3 different schools. They also have tons and tons and tons of electives, so it's very easy. Okay, in many cases, students in open programs often have upwards of 45 electives to do. 90 credit programs, 45 credit majors, 45 credits of electives. So it's very easy for those students to go on exchange. Whereas for you guys have very few electives, especially if you're looking at doing CPAs. I know there's a few accountants in the room. Okay, you have very few electives. Double majors, or some double majors in the room, even less electives, right? So how it works at JMSB, because we can't pre-approve your courses when you apply for 3 different schools, times 200 students, times 10 courses, right? It's just, there have to be like, what, 7 of us, 20 of us? You know, that's just not in the budget, right? So how it works at the JMSB is that you guys select the schools you want to go to. You get help from people like Alex. You come to sessions like this to get as much information as possible. You come to see Guylaine and I in our office hours, and we're going to have office hours after the DNE. We open up. So in the last week of January, there's going to be a lot of time for you guys to come and see us, okay, with your courses before you upload them. But we don't place you into the schools. You upload everything on your application, and it's Concordia International. They're in charge of the exchange program. They choose which students are going to get. We all said Singapore. There's a lot of Singapore around the room that you guys are interested in, so let's just throw out Singapore Management University, SMU. Let's say they have 3 spots for JMSB for SMU. It's them that chooses the 3 students for SMU. And then they'll give us the files with the courses, and we look at the courses. If the courses work for those 3 students, we approve them, and away it goes. Okay, So that's how it works. We don't choose where you go. We just choose whether the courses work or not. If we happen to get a file where a student has applied and we look at their academic profile and we know that they've applied with some courses, but we know the school well and we know that they've applied with courses, but we know there's some courses there that really would work, we email the student before we would refuse them and say, hey, can you come in and see me tomorrow? I'd really like for you to go where they've selected you to go, but we need to rework your courses. Okay? We really want you to go on exchange. We do everything to make your dreams come true once we get your file. Okay? I want you to know that wholeheartedly. Good? I'm not going to say any questions. I did that on Monday, but we're a full house. So the course is listed in the application. So again, I want to reiterate again, because after you're accepted into the program, eventually you will get something called a confirmation of enrollment form where you have to list your courses to Concordia International. But I just want to confirm again that it's only our office that can give you approval for courses. And we always have one student, maybe two, depending on the year, that gets this form from Concordia International, puts down a new course, and they think that they're getting an approval from Concordia International for a course once they're abroad, and then they come back and they realize they're not getting credit for it, and sometimes it means it's delaying their graduation altogether. So I really want to stress it again, that Concordia International takes care of so much for the exchange, but they have no jurisdiction over credit values, over transfer credits, over anything. So even if it's a form called, confirmation of enrollment, and you have to put down and list all the courses you're taking, and they want to see that, it in no way is an approval for courses. They use that for the bursary. Okay, is that good? Okay. When you are accepted into the program, let's say you get your first choice. Everybody's applying to Lund. You all go to Lund. You're all going to Sweden. My best friend lives in Sweden, so I'm on board for Sweden. So let's say you're all going to Sweden and you've made your application, you all got your first choice, you're all going to Sweden. What we do is we give you your permission and you get an email. It's an email signed by Dr. Kanan, so the Dean of the Undergraduate Programs, and it's a contract. It's about 4 pages long. Read it all. And it actually has listed all the courses that you've been approved for. Okay? And it gives you instructions in it how you can go about changing those courses. Because you're getting that approval with the courses that you applied with to your application to go and study abroad. And there is a very high percentage chance that you're going to find out that there's new courses being offered that are listed on the website that you get in information in your information package when you're accepted by the host that you're interested in taking. Okay? And many times we have lots of students around this room, you've all told me your major, there's easily a quarter of you who are going to change your major, add a major, drop a minor, change a minor, add a minor. Things are going to change in your academic profiles. We have that happen a lot as well. So after you're accepted into the program, you're not locked into those courses 1,000% for what you applied to in your application. You have an opportunity after you're accepted by the host for us to change those courses, okay? And all the information will be in that email sent by Dr. Kanan. And again, our office is always open to you. Right now, it's a really hard time of year because Concordia International sets their application date as February 1st, and it's the registration period. You guys have been to the undergraduate programs office? How many of you have been? Have you seen the lineups? Yes, long lineups. And it's the same for our emails. We're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I kid you not, of emails a day. We are working overtime. We are answering emails. We're doing everything that we can to help you guys. We really love our students, but there's just not enough of us. They haven't cloned us yet in the undergraduate programs office. So it's just a rough time of year, the February application deadline. But know that the last week of January, you can wait to come and see us. When you come and see us, we do ask that you bring everything printed out. Don't come in with your laptops. Okay, I'm an environmentalist. I used to run an organic farm. Trust me, I am really not about printing paper. It's just that it's way faster for me if you come out with all your course descriptions and that preliminary course form printed out. I will. You've seen it. She does it too. I will write notes all over it. It just speeds things up so much faster, okay, for me to go through it and for Guylaine to go through it when you come into our offices that last week of January. We can speed through things, okay? Once you are accepted into the program, you have questions, academic questions, you're thinking of changing your major or minor, you can make an appointment to come and see me on the undergraduate program's website anytime. Okay, we don't take the summer off. We are here. You're timed out. I don't know if it's still recording. So please don't wait until you're moments away from going abroad, or it's the registration for summer courses and you don't know what to take because you're going to be coming abroad. Come and see us. Come and see us regularly if you have to. There's a few of you in the room I already know well because you've come to my office many times. Okay? What happens if? Okay, the GPA to apply for the exchange is a cumulative GPA of 2.7. There's no negotiating that. Okay, the average for our students going on exchanges is actually 3.2 was last year. So about a B plus is the average JMSB student who goes and study abroad. I'm not exactly clear how Concordia International places students, but I believe it's highly based on academics. So the higher GPA you have, I believe, is what's going to garner you the competition and the winning place for those competitive schools.
Especially for Australia and for Asia.
Yeah, for Australia, Asia, those are really competitive. So the GPA is 2.7 cumulative. If your GPA falls below that, you're out of the program. Okay, so if you're applying to go abroad for the winter semester especially, and you're having a not so great fall semester, your GPA is falling, or you think it's going to fall because you're getting your midterms back and you're not doing well, you better come in and speak to me. Okay, because the last thing you want is to have a non-refundable plane ticket at the end of January because you're taking off for Japan, and suddenly you're going to get an email from the dean's office saying that you're removed from the program because your GPA is below the cutoff. Okay? That's the reality of exchanges. 2.7 is the minimum. Now, it happens once in a while, rarely, but it does happen. If you fail a course prior to leaving on exchange, like the semester right before you're going on exchange, you fail a course, often happens with COM 225 or COM 305. Those are our two highest failure rate courses. If it happens that you fail a course at the JMSB prior to departure, okay, you've got an FNS, but your GPA is still above 2.7, you can still go on exchange. Okay, there's no problem. You can still go on exchange as long as your cumulative GPA is still above 2.7. You cannot do that course abroad for credit, though. You cannot say, wow, managerial accounting was so tough at JMSB, I'll just do it in Italy. No, you have to come back. When you come back, you have to do it here. Okay, you absolutely have to retake that course here. Good? Any other questions? No? Darn, no questions. I'm not allowed to do any questions. Online classes abroad. This is a reality of university life, not something I had to deal with when I was doing my first degree at Concordia. But online classes are offered everywhere now, especially at business schools. A lot of the schools that you're going to be going to are going to be offering you online classes. And I get that it is really enticing to take online classes while you're on exchange because you can have the longest weekends ever to travel, right? But the whole point of going on exchange is to meet people, and it's to network, and it's to have that cultural experience. And you're not going to have that in an online class. So it's highly discouraged that you take online classes abroad. Very rarely will we ever approve them unless there's no option. In some courses, and especially in the private business schools in France, we sometimes see that there's an online component to the class. So there are lectures that might meet once a week, but then there's a big part of the class that's also online. Those are the types of courses that we're more apt to approve. I just want to mention also that you're not allowed to take any online course anywhere in the world simultaneously while you're on exchange. I'll give you an example. A winter semester in some schools in Germany will start at the very end of March. So I have had students in the past say, well, can't I take an online class at Concordia? It starts in January, it finishes in May. There's only an overlap of, 4 weeks, really, for the class, or 5 weeks before I actually start my classes, middle or end of March in Germany. And you can't do that. So you're coded by the Ministry of Education as having studies outside of Quebec for the semester that you're gone for. So that semester that you're gone for, you can only be doing courses during that semester that you are abroad. Is that clear? Head nodding. Yes, I'm getting head nodding. Credits abroad. So credits abroad. It is not a pass-fail policy. You do have to earn the equivalent of a C grade or better abroad. That being said, honestly, JMSB, you guys are in a really tough program here. A really tough program. And I know that by the fact that when we get transcripts that come back from all over the world, and I know my students are off traveling and having fun. I'm on Facebook. I see the photos. I wonder if there's studying going on sometimes. But I get their transcripts back, and it's mostly A's and B's. Like, they are doing really well in all these schools that they're going abroad to. Because JMSB is a hard school, and getting A's and B's here is ridiculously hard, especially in some disciplines, right? So know that getting a C grade, it's not just a pass-fail, but getting a C grade is completely doable for our exchange students going abroad on exchange. Okay? Very rarely do we ever have a student that comes back and they failed the class. Okay? Very, very rarely. Usually if they fail a class, we see it once in a while, but it's usually if they're taking a really upper-level course in the language of that country. So if they're taking an upper level, I saw a student do an upper level accounting course in Italian. And I know I had talked about it years ago, but I had talked about it with her. And she didn't have a lot of choice, and she opted to do it. But the course, and she said it was just, she wasted all of her time because she didn't have all of les terminaisons. Mm-hmm. She didn't have the language for it. It's not that she didn't understand it. She had a 3.8 GPA, I remember so clearly. She was amazing. But she actually was the only class in her entire life that she ever failed. But it was just because she hadn't studied accounting in Italian. She was a Montreal Italian speaker. She could speak Italian, but writing and doing all of that, that's what got her down. So it does happen. So what happens if you fail a class abroad? So the good news is that if you fail a class abroad, okay, it doesn't show up on your JMSB transcript. We just transfer the credits, not the grades, from whatever classes you do abroad. Okay, so if you went abroad and you're an IBIS major and you did 12 credits of international business abroad, we transfer those 12 credits of international business. Sometimes they're very specific courses. I'm going to show you an example after of what a contract looks like, what course approvals look like, so you understand. So sometimes they're very specific. It will just transfer the credits. So on your transcript, it would say, studies outside of Quebec, University of Amsterdam, HVA, the Netherlands, IBIS 462, IBIS 466, general elective 6 credits. That's all it says. Maybe there was a 5th course that student had attempted and they failed it because they did an accounting and Dutch class, but it won't appear on your JMSB transcript, okay, and it won't factor into your GPA. So there's that safety net. That being said, if you are ever applying to any post-secondary institution for anything, for another undergraduate degree, a graduate degree, whatever it may be, the minute that they see your JMSB or your Concordia transcript and it says studies outside of Quebec and there's an exchange on there, they're going to require seeing an official copy of the transcript from your host institution. So if you've gone abroad and we've only transferred a few courses and you failed courses abroad, immediately they're going to ask questions, and it may mean the difference of you getting in to graduate school or not. Okay? So you always want to do your best. Clear? Yes. So it's not a C. It's an A+ you're going to get. Promise me that. A+ all the time. So I want you in graduate school too. It's not just JMSB. It's beyond. We're thinking beyond. Okay, so what happens if I take at least 12 approved credits abroad and I still want to do extra courses? I get this all the time, especially from JMSB, from you guys. So many of the students that come through our office have no more electives. And they're going to these countries, and sometimes there are required language courses. They have no choice, but they have to take them. Very typical in France and Japan. There's some schools that no matter what, you have to do required language courses. They're built into their exchange program. So the rule is that to go away on exchange, you must be advancing your degree by 12 credits each semester that you go on exchange, which means that you must take 12 credits of comms and major classes or minor classes that are advancing your degree if you have no more electives. But if you're doing that and you're taking 12 credits, okay, worth of those courses advancing your degree, and there's a required class or a class you really just want to take, okay, and I can't approve it because you have no more electives left in your program, just take it because the host is requiring it, because it's a class you just really want to take. I think it would be absolutely devastating to be in Spain with no more electives left, taking 4 business classes and not be able to take that Spanish class. Okay, do it. It's an opportunity. Take that history class. Take that unique class. Okay, even if you have no more electives left. But you must be advancing your academic program by 12 credits. Okay, that is advancing your academic career. So we get that question a lot by students, especially by our accounting majors. They have no more electives. They know they can't do any accounting courses abroad for credit because they want to do the CPA, okay, and they're restricted by a lot of the comms as well. And they say, but I'll just go and do extra electives. Doesn't work that way. That would be academic tourism. I would lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. I've been here 15 years. I love my job. Okay. You must advance your degree. So if you have a really tight academic profile, one of the ways that students will be able to go on exchange is by adding a double major.
Adding a minor.
Adding a minor. Guys, a minor in other disciplines at Concordia is minimum 24 credits, but most of them are 30 credits a minor outside of JMSB. Do you know why your minors are only 4 classes? 4 classes, 12 credits. Why? You guys have an insane core. You guys have to do 45 credits of comms, all of you. Every single JMSB student has to do the same core. No other discipline at Concordia has to do that. It's insanity. So we were able to barter with the Ministry of Education and say, listen, every single JMSB student does so much business. Surely they can do a minor for 4 classes. They've already done marketing, management. They've already done finance. We're just, buddying up. It's just extra. Think about it. 4 classes? To have that on your official transcript, to be able to put that down on a CV, you don't know if your career in finance is where you want to be 20 years from now. That minor in marketing might open doors to a really interesting career path for you. And it was just 4 classes to be able to put it on your CV. It might also mean you might be able to go somewhere on exchange that you couldn't if you were just an accounting major, right? So adding that minor is really cool. Now the major-minor rule is that when you go on exchange, you must do at least 50% of your major or minor courses at Concordia. So it means that 50% of your comms have to be done here, not a problem. 50% of your major has to be done here, not a problem. But for a minor, it means 50% of your minor has to be done here. Okay? So the only minor that I would say that you can't add and then go on exchange with right away is a minor in finance. If you want to add a minor in finance, which is fantastic, you add the minor in finance before you go on exchange because you must do FINA 385 and 395 here, Theory of Finance 1 and 2 here, and then you go on exchange and do any 2 400 level finance classes you want on exchange, even if they're finance classes that we don't teach. Anything. Carte blanche. Okay? Is that cool? Language classes abroad. Is anybody here currently doing a minor in any language? No? Yes. Okay. So if you're doing a minor in languages and you want to go and study on exchange and you want to take language classes abroad for credit, you have to go to either the Modern Languages Department or to le Département des Études Françaises to have those courses approved for credit. If anybody else in the room wants to take a language class abroad for credit because they have room for electives within their degree, you just put it down on your form with your application. You upload the course description with your application. We approve it. Okay, it doesn't need to go to the Modern Languages Department. Okay. Know that for the mandatory language classes, did you have to do a mandatory language class in Sweden?
No, but I did one. It was open to all exchange students, and a lot of people did it.
Yeah. So say something in Swedish.
Jag heter Alex. That means my name is Alex. Tack så mycket, thanks so much. A little bit more, but that's it.
That's cool. So some language classes, when you go on exchange, if you want to take them for credit, I just want you to know that the two things. Sometimes, and you were mentioning this the other day, and it was a really good point, sometimes universities outsource language teachers to come in, and sometimes even though you're an exchange student and you're supposed to be free when you're studying abroad because you're paying your tuition to Concordia, sometimes they do have charges for language courses because they outsource teachers to come in and teach them. So before you register for a language class at your host university, make sure you ask that question before you get charged, 90 euros for a class that you thought was going to be free. And the other thing is you want to make sure that when you register for classes, for language classes, at a host institution, if you're getting credited for them, so it's an elective course for you or part of your program, you want to make sure that they're going to appear on your official transcript that the host issues. Because sometimes they outsource these teachers, and
especially in Madrid.
Yeah, Madrid is one of the University of Madrid. We have that issue where they outsource professors, and we kind of get a Mickey Mouse unofficial, printed at home certificate that says so-and-so completed this course, and honestly, I could have made the same certificate at home with my 6-year-old. So make sure that when it comes to language classes, if you're getting them for credit, especially for you in the back who's doing a minor in languages, that you want to ask those questions from the host institution, okay? And if you're unsure, that's the questions that you direct towards Concordia International. They can they can ask those questions for you because they're not business courses, okay? Oh, electives. Can I take any type of elective abroad, right? Wrong. Okay, number 1. In Quebec, you got credit for sports in CEGEP, and that's where it ended with the Ministry of Education. So yes, I know that the universities in Australia and in California offer surfing for credit. You are not going to get it for credit. Okay? Rule number 1. Rule number 2. Let's say 2 JMSB students go on exchange together. They are both at the same university. They are in Florida on exchange having a great time. And one student has got approval for this sociology class as an elective, and Joelle's having trouble finding an elective, and Alex says to her, oh, I got approval from Amanda for the sociology class. Why don't you take the sociology class for me? I got it approved as a general elective. It should be no problem for you. They take the class together. But Joelle, she never contacted us to let us know that that's what she was doing. We get their transcripts back. Turns out that Joelle did a CEGEP class in sociology and got an exemption that she completely forgot about. So she doesn't get credit for it. So she wasn't full-time. So she may lose the bursary and have to pay it back. And she's not going to graduate. That exact example happened about 6 years ago. Okay? So even if it's a benign general elective, you're just trying to fill it out, and there's another JMSB student in the class, you must get all courses approved. It's absolutely individual. And it doesn't go just for electives. It goes for comms as well. We have students that are on exchange, and they say, oh, well, this other student in the class with me got approval for COM 320. And I've registered and I'm taking it because I know it's COM 320. You approved it for COM 320. And we're like, yeah, but that student's done COM 305, COM 308. You've only done COM 217. You haven't done 305. You haven't done 308. You're missing all of the prerequisites. You can't take that course. You're missing it. Okay, and I want you to understand the ramifications for that. It's not just us being meanies and saying, no, you can't take it. It's not that we think you're going to necessarily fail the course. It's that we have an AACSB accreditation, which means a lot to your degree value. And if we start granting people taking courses where they don't have all the prerequisites, we can lose our accreditation. This is huge, right? So everything that we do, all these rules, is to make sure that the value of your degree is still there and that you succeed, not just in the program, but long after. Good? All right. Academic requirements of the CSEP. Okay, so again, you only take courses that you have been approved by. Okay, you get everything by email from us. You'll get a contract from Dr. Canan. If it's super busy time of year, so I'll give you an example right now. You guys know how crazy the undergraduate office is? talked about those hundreds of emails. A lot of those emails are from our students who are right now all over the world on exchange. And they're saying to us, Guylaine, Amanda, I need to change a course. 2 classes are taught at the same time that were approved, so now I have to choose another course to replace it. Here are the options. Okay. Or sometimes we get, I don't like the professor. Or it's on Friday night, the class is Friday night, I can't take this class, right? So we get a lot of students emailing us now all over the world. And so right now, because we have long lineups, I'm not issuing contracts because that takes a lot of time. So what we do is we email. So as long as you have an email from either Dr. Kanan, Guylaine, or myself saying with your ID number and everything, you are approved for this course for this many credits, that's valid, okay? Because emails are password protected, it's considered a valid contract, okay, for an approval of courses, as long as you have that. We actually have a separate email, and again, you're going to get this once you're accepted into the program. You'll get all of this information. That is your lifeline. Okay, Dr. Kanan, Guylaine, and myself are the only 3 people that have access to this, but we all have access to it. That way, if one of us is sick, or if one of us is away traveling, at least one of the 3 of us have access to it. Guylaine is the main person that oversees this. Every single day she comes in, and the first thing she does is her priority. She triages that email for all of our students who are studying abroad so that they get the first service. Okay. How are courses approved? So this is important, so please take some notes on this. You guys are looking at courses right now as you're looking at applying, right? And you'll see on your form for when you're applying for the exchange, there's space for 10 classes, I believe, on the form. 10 or 12? 10. And we really want you to put down 10. Okay? Number 1, just so you know, some of you may end up going to schools where you will do 4 classes and get 12 credits transferred because classes are really one-to-one. Some of you may end up going to a school where you will only do 3 classes to get 12 credits. Some of you may go somewhere where you have to do 8 classes to get 12 credits. It varies significantly, and I don't want a different credit system, something that's a little bit strange, to offset your decision-making process. I don't want you to look at a school where you look at the courses and they're kind of all over the board with hours and credits, and you just say, oh, this is complicated, I'll just go somewhere easy and push it aside. Different is often amazing. Okay. Most of the time, the schools that have courses that are exactly one-to-one like JMSB means that they have a school a lot like JMSB, where it's a 12 to 15-week semester, where classes are a set time, where it's just lectures, some labs, and that's it. But a lot of the private business schools that are really cutting edge around the world, that we have a lot of partnerships with, they fly in CEOs from some of the biggest companies around the world to come in to teach a course that lasts 2 days. And it may only be worth 1 credit to you, but it's the most amazing opportunity to have access to this individual that you've seen in some of the top magazines around the world, that you've seen do TED Talks, that you've seen, in the media, to come in to give these talks that are highly specialized. It also means that it becomes a little bit like a buffet, right? Where there's lots of little courses that you might have to take 6 little courses to get 1 finance course at Concordia. But you might also end up with 3 weeks off in the middle of semester to go travel around Europe. Not a bad thing. Yes, it's more work for us. Yes, I should discourage you from doing that to us. But we really do want you to have a unique experience and go and have an amazing opportunity. And exchange, more than anything, is about networking. I joke in my office about how many wedding announcements I get through the years and baby announcements I get from students who have met their life partner on exchange. But more than that, how many jobs, how many businesses have been started with people who have met on exchange, with the professors and the professionals that they've met through the course of going on exchange. it is absolutely amazing networking opportunity that you are creating.
A lot of parents don't like us because their children stay overseas. They don't come back.
I get nervous at graduation. I always try to go to convocation. I take great pride in my students, and I love going to convocation, but I always get nervous when parents approach me because I've always got that look of, do they like me or do they not like me? Because a lot of students they come back to the JMSB. I would say I can count on one hand, honestly, in 15 years, how many of my students went on exchange and didn't come back to finish their degree, decided to transfer and stay abroad at their host institution. Most students end up coming back and finishing their degrees at JMSB. But a lot of students end up then either A, getting the traveling bug, taking a break and going traveling after their degree, or really the blinders come off and the world suddenly feels very small and decide to work abroad after their degree, or decide that they want to do their MBA or their MSc or their PhD not in Canada, somewhere else. Right? So this program is really, just as I see it, a springboard to your world. And your world's whatever you created. Pretty cool. So let's get back to the academics. So how do we approve courses? So as a general rule, for every 1 Concordia credit, we are looking for 12 to 15 hours of actual lecture time with a professor, not labs, okay, for 1 Concordia credit. So sometimes when we're looking for course information, when we're saying upload all the course details, okay, for the courses in your application, the course syllabus, okay, it shouldn't just be 2 lines, okay, with the credit value. As much information as possible. If it doesn't give the credit value, sometimes we'll say, find out when the class is being offered. Is it Tuesday and Thursday afternoons from 10 until 11:30? And then find out how long the semester is. Is it a 12-week semester? So we can actually do the math to find out how many hours it is. Okay. All that information, look on their websites. Some websites, you actually need a login. That information is protected. You need a login. You need to be a student. Okay? Where do you get that information? You're not a student. You're an applicant. Go to Concordia International. Okay? Concordia International is divided into regions of the world. They're called International Liaison Officers. So there's 3 different individuals over there that deal with different areas of the world. So depending on where you're applying to, you might deal with 1 person or 2 people, maybe 3, depending on the 3 schools you're applying to. Okay? But some schools, they have to give you a phantom ID and password that Concordia has been provided with so that you can go and access, course descriptions and whatnot. Or you go to them and say, I need course descriptions. I am a marketing major, and I need to know what marketing courses are being taught at this host next year, or if they're being taught in English. Now, aside from really some schools in Korea, Central and South America, and a few schools in Mexico, almost all of the schools you're applying to teach business in English. As rigid as your program is with barely any electives as business students, you guys are so lucky because the international language of business is English. Imagine those 3 math students going on exchange. If they want to go to Italy, they have to be fluent in Italian because math's being taught in Italian. Okay?
But on a side note, there are courses that are offered, for example, in Spain or in France, in just that language, in the native tongue. But you have to be able to have university level Spanish or French to take a course. So if you would like to do that, then you should take a test, a placement test. It's a free placement test online, I believe?
It's a free placement test online here at Concordia.
And then that will tell you, yes, the student can take Spanish courses in Spain or French courses in France, okay? Or German, whatever.
So if you have questions about whether or not you need a language placement test for a host, if you want to apply to a certain host, ask the ILO at Concordia International. That's their job, right, to tell you whether or not. They know whether those schools require it or not. In Europe, in the European credit transfer system, okay, so in the Eurozone, it's basically, as a general rule, a half. So if you've got a 6 ECTS credit course, sometimes 5 even ECTS credit course, it will be equivalent to 1 full course here at Concordia. So it's not unusual to have to take 2 or 3 courses abroad to equal 1 course at Concordia. Good. Now, credits vary, but I want you to also think about this. Aside from the comms, which really have to be very, very similar to what we do, except for entrepreneurship, that's the one comm course that we can be very creative in our equivalency, provided that it has a business plan and you actually kind of create a company, okay? Apart from COM 320, the comms really have to be pretty much exactly what we teach. Pretty much the same textbook, the same subject headings. But within your major, you all know that within your major you have certain required classes, okay? And then you have a selection that you can take whatever you want from. When you go on exchange, you can do whatever you want in that discipline. I'll give you an example. In finance, you have to do FINA 385, FINA 395, and then you can just choose whatever you want in finance. You go to Croatia, you're at Zagreb, awesome place. And they are doing a high-level finance class on investing in emerging markets in Eastern Europe. Does JMSB teach that class? No. Does that sound like an awesome course? Yes. Should you take it? Yes. Are we going to give you credit for it? Absolutely. Why does this benefit the JMSB? Why would we give you credit for this? Because when you go abroad and you're doing stuff that we're not teaching, you're bringing it back. You're benefiting all the other finance majors that didn't get to go on exchange. You're bringing it back to the class discussions. You're bringing it back when we do competitions and you're competing for us. You're bringing back that knowledge. So we're not putting you in a box and sending you abroad, JMSB saying you must do exactly what JMSB teaches, just do it somewhere else. We're saying go, find other stuff, find new knowledge, find things that excite you. You know, if you want to go into luxury brand management, please, please go to France. We have schools that do nothing but this, marketing and management for luxury brands, for wine, for fashion, for perfumes, for sports cars. Go and do those high-level classes. We don't teach them. We teach them as specialty classes once in a while. They have entire degrees devoted to them. Go there, do those classes. Do 4 classes of marketing in an area that you envision your future in and get credit for them and bring that knowledge back here. Is that cool? So when you're looking for courses, don't just look for FINA 412. Look for that exciting finance class halfway around the world. Okay, I have a first question, and we said no questions, but she looks like she can't contain herself.
No, I'm saying I'm going to forget, and I wrote it down, and I still know I'm going to forget. In that case, because there were classes that I saw that were really cool that weren't related to JMSB at all.
Yep.
You know, are still IBIS classes. What would be the course equivalency on the?
Okay, so the question is, what's going to be the course equivalency for a course that's, let's say, in marketing or finance that JMSB doesn't teach? Great question. I'm answering it on the next slide. Yeah. So this is what, oh, we're just fixing it. So a course equivalency contract, you know when you apply, you send us all the courses, and then I said you're going to get an email once we accept you to your host from Dr. Kanan. You're going to get a contract that looks something like this. Okay, it's 4 pages long, it's got a lot of conditions in it, but it looks something like this. So if you took a course, let's say that this is a course called Financial Systems, Markets, and Instruments. We don't have a finance course here with that title, okay, at JMSB. It's very similar to our FINA 481. So what we do is we say it's a FINA B. So a B credit simply means that it is a 400 level course that goes towards that discipline in finance, but that it doesn't have an exact value here. So a course like the example I gave, you know, investing in emerging markets in Eastern Europe, we don't have a number for that. We don't have any course like that. In that instance, it would just be FINA B, okay? So if you're doing a minor in finance, it would go towards the minor. If you're doing a major in finance, it would go towards the major, okay? So you still get credit for it.
I did this when I was on exchange. I'm a finance major, and I took a financial financial systems development and crisis class, which we don't offer anything like that here. It was actually a really interesting class, and I got credited FINA B3, 3 credits towards my major, so very similar situation.
And when we do equivalencies, I keep an Excel spreadsheet of all the schools for myself. I used to do this with Professor Wahab, who just retired this summer, of all these courses around the world that we'd see when students would be applying. We'd look at them going, we need to teach this. We need to teach this. Get this to the chair of the department. This is so cool. Why aren't we teaching this? But that's how ideas are generated. Universities are amazing places, right? And you guys are doing the same thing when you guys go and study abroad. You're bringing all that knowledge from JMSB all around the world. You might get there and they're like, what's this course that you're talking about? That JMSB teaches when you're referencing something that you've learned or some professor here that you've encountered with, right? So, for instance, here we've got a student who's doing, international marketing. When we say an exemption, it means that the course wasn't exactly, Marketing 465. It wasn't strong enough to be exactly our 465, but it covered enough of it that we're giving credit as 465 as an exemption, meaning that it's not fair for the student to have done the course abroad and then come back here and retake the course here because it probably covered 50 or 60% of the course. Okay, so it's not fair to the student. It's not fair to us as well, to the other students, but they're getting the course for credit. Okay, yeah.
But if we're taking a finance class that is not here, do we put it as an elective in our preliminary course?
So in your preliminary course, because there's no number for it, just put down FINA.
FINA.
Okay. As the example, as if the course is a FINA course and you can't see that there's a number here that it kind of relates to, just write FINA with no number. Okay? JMSB really wants you to do different things.
All right.
Good. Okay. So sometimes you'll get, like this student is not doing the minor in Mandarin, which is why the student was taking a language course and it just simply says general elective. Sometimes you'll get in the contract a request for a detailed course outline. Okay, so this is really common with students who are requesting products operations management, which is COM 225. COM 225 for us, for our accreditation and for how we teach the course here at JMSB, we require linear programming. Okay, a lot of schools do teach it, but they often don't even include it in the syllabus when they put it in or in the course outline. Sometimes when you get a little note like this, all you have to do is once you're over there with the school, you know who the professor is, or maybe before you even get there, I just need an email from the professor confirming that they're teaching linear programming. Okay, and then we can confirm that it's COM 225. In this instance, sometimes we'll have to block courses. The student had applied for Foundations of Finance. Maybe they thought it was a 300 or 400 level finance course towards their major. In this instance, it really was COM 308. Student's already done it. It's a finance major. Okay, and a seminar in management, accounting, and control. I think the student had been looking for 305, but this was really an upper level ACCO course. Okay, so they got blocked on those. So they said they can't take it for credit. And that's basically what your contract will look like. So there's no confusion, but if you ever have questions about your contract, you get it months and months before you leave on exchange. Months and months and months and months. So don't wait till you're on exchange before you open your email to look at it, right? When you get it, read it entirely, and then read it again, and then print it out and put it on your refrigerator and read it every day for a week until you know you don't have any questions. And if you have questions, which I'm sure you will, please come and see us. Okay? We prefer that you spend time with us before you go on exchange, then panic when you get over there. How and when will my CSEP credits be transferred? So typically, it's 8 to 14 weeks after your exchange that we receive your official transcript, okay, from the host institution. They're sent to Concordia International, and then they're posted on SIS, and we get a copy. We transfer them really quickly now. It's changed. The system has changed in the last year, so now they're being transferred fairly quickly, usually within a few days. And all it shows, again, it's going to say the semester you studied abroad, the name of the institution, the country, and the credits that were earned. Okay, it doesn't show the course names. It just says, it will just say Marketing B, Exemption 465, 3 credits. okay, whatever it is. And then once your credits are transferred, if you only attempted 12 credits while abroad, which I strongly advise, yes, you can do 15 credits while you're abroad on exchange, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Please only do 12 when you're abroad. Try to take advantage of all those networking opportunities. We give you a 3-credit tuition refund if you only attempted 12 credits abroad. Okay, so after you've gone on exchange, you'll get a refund for 3 credits of tuition that you've overpaid because you only did 12 credits. It goes automatically into your student account. It usually takes about a week or 2 for Concordia International to do that. Well, they do it, but then it goes through a few different offices. It goes to your student account. If you need the money right away, you can go to the Burke Student Service Center and ask for a check, and they can cash you a check, and you can get the money right away. If not, just let it sit in your student account, and it will apply towards your next semester that you're at Concordia. Okay, if you're sticking around. If not, get the cash. Good? Once we've transferred your credits, everything's done for your exchange at JMSP.
I would like to say something though. Once the courses appear on your transcript, you come and see us because SIS will not recognize some of them. For example, you're trying to get into another level of marketing class or finance. SIS will not recognize FINA B. So you send us an email, you come and see us, you say, I'm trying to get into this class. Could you please waive the prerequisites? And that's what we do.
Yeah, the computer system at Concordia, like for registering, you know how you get access to registering by how many credits you've completed at Concordia? They don't recognize that you've been on exchange. So that's something we can't do anything about. You're going to register a little bit later than what typically you should be allowed. We can't do anything about that. That's one fallback. The other thing is that it won't recognize sometimes FINA Bs or exemptions. Sometimes the computer system is just faulty that way. But you can come and see us. We recommend that even before your credits are transferred, come and see us as soon as you get back from exchange. Or when you're abroad, send us an email when you're trying to register for your courses when you come back, because sometimes there will be prerequisite blocks, and we just override it. We have that power. We can just get you into the classes you need to, because we know you're doing COM 308 abroad and you can't register, but we can get you into 320 and 401 for when you get back. Okay, we take care of that. Good. Support and staying in touch is critical to the program's success. Okay, so a lot of the questions that we're going to be fielding in a few minutes, I'm sure, are questions that if you even go back in the chat on the JMSB CSEP Go Away Facebook group, you will find answers to. The JIC is on it. Students who have been on exchange are on it. Alumni from even 4 or 5 years ago are still on it and answer questions about what their host was like. I'm on it. I answer questions regularly on it. It's a closed group. It's not a private group, but please go on to JMSB CSEP Go Away Facebook group. I'm working part-time right now because I've just come back from a sick leave, but even yesterday I was home. I was on a scheduled day of recovery with my doctors, but I answered many questions yesterday from home on this. So please join that group, ask questions. Sometimes if it's a specific academic question, I can't answer it. If it's a general question, no problem, but sometimes I'll say, send me an email or come and see me, whatever it is. But you will get information. Alex is there answering academic stuff all the time. It's fantastic. Staying in touch and getting academic advising from abroad. Sometimes it's much easier to talk face-to-face. We exchange a lot of emails. I know that for myself, I'm a visual person. But for myself, I know that when I've had students either in crisis, and I mean crisis can be sick, crisis can be I can't get into a class and I'm panicking, crisis can be I've lost my passport, crisis can be I think I want to change my major and I don't know what to do, Amanda. You know, crisis can be all kinds of things, but I found that through the last 15 years I've been doing this, that having the technology where I've got my iPhone and I'm sitting in my office and I can visually see a student and we can actually talk from abroad is really, it's really, we get a lot more done than exchanging messages back and forth, emails back and forth, where we can actually talk and ask the questions. So if you have an iPhone, FaceTime is fantastic. There's also, I don't know how many, I don't do WhatsApp. Don't ask me for WhatsApp. My babysitters hounded me on WhatsApp, and they used it too much. The other one was, what are you guys using now? Not Skype. No, I use Duo. Yeah, I'm on Duo. You can add me on Duo. Duo I use, FaceTime I use. Messenger has a video chat function. Skype, I find the connection is just so terrible on Skype now that I'm just not using Skype anymore. But Duo or FaceTime are good. So that when you're abroad, if you want to have academic advice and you want to talk with me, that's a good way. I've also walked students down the hallway to the dean's office on my phone so that they can personally see him. Get a kick out of that. The best time to reach me, because my office is pretty busy with students and I try to see as many students as possible and I do have a lot of meetings, but the best time to reach me, I'm in my office early, is between 8:30 and 9 if you need to call. Okay? It's hard to reach me by telephone. It's hard to reach me by email. I completely get that. It's just volume. It has nothing to do with whether I want to see you or not. It's volume. Make an appointment to see me through the undergraduate website for advising. I'm the only one for international. Click international. I'm there. There will be appointments going up for the end of next week. Okay, you can make an appointment to see me. I have drop-ins. Yeah. They'll be going up at the beginning of next week after the DNE. Yeah, after the registration period, they'll go up. And then you can book appointments to see me. Okay. But if you have general questions, post them on the group page. Alex is there. She can answer. I can answer as well. And is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I'm just going to talk about a little bit about some advice and tips about going on exchange from what I experienced when I was there. I want to touch upon what Amanda said earlier. Like she said, a lot of you are looking at Singapore or other schools. You might think that's your number one pick and the place you want to go to. But your best fit might be at a school you never even heard of. That happened with me. If you had told me I was going to be going to a tiny town in Sweden for my exchange at the beginning of my process, I would have laughed and been like, yeah, right. I was trying to get away from the Montreal winters, go somewhere warm on a beach, and I ended up in a tiny Swedish town and had the best time of my life. Nothing bad to say about it. I know the deadline is less than 2 weeks away, and it might seem crazy to switch schools now, but keep your mind open, do your research, and talk to us, talk to Amanda and Guylaine. They might have some tips for other schools, but yeah, just keep that in mind. So one of the hardest things to do is pack up your whole life in 1 or 2 suitcases for 6 months. Amanda actually gave me a really good tip the other week that I wish I had when I was going on exchange. So what you do is you bring 2 suitcases with you. One, you have all your clothes and everything in it. And the second suitcase, you have things that you're going to consume. So you bring a bottle of shampoo and conditioner, toilet paper, some Kraft peanut butter, because you can't get that all over the world, unfortunately. Like bed sheets, towels, like a cheap pot and pan from IKEA. So you use all of that in the apartment when you're there, things that you're going to leave there you're not going to bring back, and then you have a huge suitcase to bring stuff back with you from exchange. New clothes you bought, souvenirs you want to bring home from all the places you travel to. So that's a really, really good tip. Plan your outfits. Like I know us girls, we have those like beautiful heels we want to bring, or a funky sweater that you probably will wear like once or twice on your exchange. Don't bother bringing it. If you want to pack something, make sure you're going to be actually wearing it. You have things to wear it with. You can always buy things there. Like if you're like, don't bring like 3 pairs of mitts, 3 hats. Like obviously those are going to be available anywhere you go. Pack in case of emergency things on your carry-on. Unfortunately, luggages do get lost or just don't show up where you are on time all the time. So pack 1 or 2 changes of clothes in your carry-on, mini shampoo and conditioner, things like that, just in case your luggage doesn't get to where you are right away. And bring Canadian goodies for your international friends, just some maybe little maple candies and just things that represent Canada. It'll be fun to share with your international friends.
I just add business students, you have to do presentations, so always pack appropriate clothes for business presentations. Yeah. And do the research before, because some of the private business schools, especially the private business schools in France, when you go to class, if you showed up like anybody around this room, you'd be laughed at, because you go to class like you were going to work at a bank, dressed for business. Mm-hmm. You don't show up in your Lululemons and your Uggs. All right? So you don't. It's just, it's business. It's protocol. That's how you dress. So some business schools really that's the expectation. So before you leave, do a little research. Get involved with JIC. Meet the students who are here on exchange. They'll tell you what it was like or at their home institution.
Yeah, and try and bring some Concordia wear too, or JMSB wear that you can wear. Because sometimes they host school fairs and they want exchange students to go and represent their school at their exchange fair. So it'll be great if you have like a JMSB sweater, Concordia sweater that you can wear while you're there.
I love getting those messages. I get like pictures of my students all over with their JMSB gear. It's like, got to go all over the world. I'm like, yeah, bring it, do it, love it.
So packing is hard, but very doable. And roll your clothes. You can save so much space and can fit so much in there. So roll your clothes when you're packing for sure. So when you get there, a lot of this stuff is very crucial for like the first week. So depending where you live, it depends on what necessities you need. So I was in a small town that you got everywhere biking. Even the bars at night, everyone was biking too. So the first thing I got was a bike. If you're in Paris or a bigger city, you'll probably need a metro pass that first week you're there. School supplies, usually schools are very helpful with their exchange students. They'll tell you if you need certain books or course packs or whatever, try and get that your first week as well. Maybe you need a router or some kitchen supplies for your school. Try and hit up an IKEA that first week just so you really you can settle in as soon as possible and really start to make that place feel like home. Cell phone plans, especially in Europe, are super, super easy. Make sure you get your phone unlocked. You can do that by calling your service provider. And then you just go to any corner store or grocery store, usually buy a SIM card, insert it into your phone, and they do it usually as a pay-as-you-go plan. Yeah. And it's so cheap. You can get like 10 gigabytes for like 20 euros a month, sometimes even less. Like, it's insane. And they can also, it works most of the time all over Europe. So definitely look into that before you go and try and get that immediately. Go to all the orientation events, even if they're not just for exchange students. Try and meet as many students as you can. Keep an open mind. Everyone on exchange is in the same position as you are. Like, everyone's living halfway across the world with people they don't know at all. So get out of your comfort zone. Talk to people you usually wouldn't talk to that you would back at home. And you can meet all these people at orientation events. They might have welcome parties. They might have like where I went, they had meetings just for the business faculty, so you can meet all the other business students. So even if you're tired and you want to stay in your room, really try and go to the events. That's where you're going to be meeting your lifelong friends. And like Amanda said, you want to open you want to expand your networking pool, and that's where you're going to meet all those people. And clubs and associations too. Like, maybe they have something like JIC that you can do events with them. They might even have positions you can join. Where I went to school, they had these things called nations, and they were for Swedish students, but exchange students were allowed to join. And they did dinners, they did bar events, they did events at school, and that's where you got to meet a lot of people. So all those things are really important that first week. And for a bank too, when you're abroad, I know some schools, like I know in the Netherlands, you have to set up a bank account. Like a Dutch bank account. In Sweden, we weren't allowed to if you were there for under 6 months. So look into it pertaining to your country. But if you aren't allowed to set up a bank account, you're keeping a Canadian one, Scotiabank and their subsidiary Tangerine are really good ones to look at because they have partnerships with over 50,000 ATMs around the world. And Scotiabank has a list on their website of which countries and which ones that you can use your debit card at their ATMs and you won't get a surcharge. Because I'm with TD and I got charged like over $5, close to $10 every time I use my bank card, and that obviously adds up. So definitely look into Scotiabank and Tangerine, even if you just open the bank account for that time you're there. It can help you save a lot of money, and you don't have to carry large amounts of cash with you either.
I always use Tangerine whenever I travel.
Yeah, it's a great one. And there's and if you want to do a credit card, I don't know the name of it, but I know there's an Amazon traveling credit card that doesn't charge any foreign exchange rates when you're using it with different currencies, so that's a good one too. So for when you want to travel, know the best way to travel based on your location. So in Europe, like if you're in Germany or the Netherlands, you're pretty central, so you're going to be wanting to train a lot. That's the best way to travel. Like I was Northern Europe, and people in the South, you're probably going to have to fly because you're a little bit further.
And the trains are nothing like here.
Yeah, they're amazing. The trains in Europe, and
amazing.
And I don't know how to pronounce it. This that German
Deutsche
train
Bahn.
line, Deutsche Bahn. You can get really good student discounts, and it takes you anywhere in Europe. If you're in like Australia or New Zealand, the best type of traveling is by road trip. So just really know where, like, the best way to travel based on your location and the best places to travel to. So like if you're in France and Paris, like south of France, you're so close to, and they have amazing small towns. Again, like if you're in Germany, there's like the beautiful hidden gems in tiny towns. So look into that. Be open to new places. The friends you meet on exchange too are probably going to introduce you to a lot of places that you probably never heard of. A lot of places I went to, I would have never thought I was going to be traveling to. I ended up traveling to Russia and Estonia and Finland, which like it wasn't even on my radar when I went to Sweden. So really be open to new places, and again, like you'll find little hidden gems in small towns. So the Deutsche Bahn, that's what you're going to say?
Deutsche Bahn.
Yes, Flixibus and Ryanair. So Deutsche Bahn is the train. Flixibus is a cheap bus company, and Ryanair is one of the
It's a bus company on wings.
yeah, basically one of the
I'm
cheaper
sorry,
airlines.
I'm sorry. You can even put your app. You can put apps if you have iPhones or whatever. For SBB, which is the Schweizer Bundesbahn, which is really great because the Swiss always give precise schedules for buses. For trains, and like you'd be able to go away. For example, I'll just give you an example. From Geneva to Venice, there's a midnight train. You can sleep over. You get to Venice at 7 o'clock in the morning. You spend the day. You can take the midnight train back to Switzerland. It's amazing what you can do when you're in Europe.
Yeah, so those three companies are just examples. There's a ton more, but they're the most popular ones to get the cheapest flights and transportation throughout Europe. So Skyscanner Incognito, this is just a quick tip that I learned when I was there. So Skyscanner is kind of like an Expedia. They show all of the different transportation companies on one website. But if you use Google Chrome and go on incognito mode, so usually if you don't go on incognito mode, they'll look at your location and your previous searches on Google, and they'll suggest a trip or fare that they think is what you want, but it's not actually the cheapest option for you. So if you go on incognito mode, they won't be able to look at your location and your previous searches, so you'll actually get the true cheapest mode. So that's just a quick tip. Very, very important is to send your itinerary to your friends and family. So wherever you're going, even if it's just like a quick day trip or a weekend long trip, send your flight information, your hostel information, because God forbid something to happen where you're studying or where you're traveling to and your family can't get in touch with you. They will go full panic mode, and they want to be able to get in touch with you as soon as possible. Unfortunately, we did have a situation like that a few years ago, and it was very difficult to get in contact with that student. So please, please, please just send it to someone so they know where you are at all times and can talk to you. I think it's still recording. It'll be okay. So when you are traveling, easy way to meet people is free walking tours. So almost every major city in Europe, and I'm sure in Asia and all over the world does it. You can just Google free walking tours in Prague, and they'll tell you a meeting point and what time you go. Tons of other tourists are going to be there, and you have a tour guide with so much knowledge of that city. You walk around for 2.5 hours, and at the end you just give like a 5-10 euro tip, up to you obviously, and you're going to meet a ton of other travelers. Again, pub crawls, I shouldn't be talking about drinking, but that's a great place to meet people on pub crawls, especially people your age. And in your hostel, say hi to the person sleeping on the bunk bed above you or in the same room as you. And you can I met some great friends too while I was traveling, not just from where I was studying. So that's a great place to meet people. And a big one is don't forget about where you're studying. A lot of people spend very, very little time in where they're actually living and studying and don't get to travel around or in the town or the towns around, and it ends up being a beautiful place. So definitely go around where you're actually studying abroad. And the last part is the hardest part of exchange that nobody talks about, and it's when you're coming home.
It's because you're broke.
And that's it. You're broke, and you don't want to leave this new place that you call home, and your friends that you now call family, and you don't know when you're going to see them again or go back to this place. It's definitely very, very hard. It's almost like a counter-culture shock. Talk to your friends from exchange because they're going through the same thing. They're home, sad, depressed that they're not in beautiful Rome or wherever anymore. So definitely talk to them. Seek help if needed. Don't be ashamed because, like, when I came home, I was not in a good mood for a while, and it was really hard because your friends, they try and understand, but they don't get it unless you've gone through it. And
can I just predicate this? The reason why JIC is talking about this now, and it seems absolutely ridiculous because you haven't even applied yet, is because students come back from exchange all different times, right? They come back, academic semesters end at different times of the year. Students come back to co-op work semesters. They go back home to out of province. They go back to their home countries. They travel around. So nobody comes back at a certain time and has sessions about reentry. So just talking from the heart here, that it's really hard. And it's hard too academically because you've come back from pretty much a much easier place and you've come back to, Com 305. You come back to...
That was me last semester.
Yeah, you've come back to the reality of, I'm back at JMSB, I've got hard classes, it's the end of my semester, it's no longer the fun of my exchange semester academics, where I was maybe doing some electives abroad and it was a lot easier. Now I'm back to work. And it's hard.
Yeah, and JIC, a lot of the execs on JIC are former CSEPers. You can come talk to us as we have gone through it ourselves. You can talk to Amanda and Guylaine. They can help you out too. It's definitely a hard process, but you can get through it. Like, we had a comment on this presentation on Monday. Have things to look forward to when you get back. Either like joining a committee like this, or really exciting classes, or you're gonna have a new job, or you're gonna be like volunteering. So maybe that even though you don't want to leave where you are, you're kind of excited to come back because you have new and exciting things to look forward to. And keep yourself busy, like studying, getting back into the swing of things with your friends. Eventually, it does get easier. But and if you really, really have the travel bug, like me, I'm applying for a second exchange, you can do that.
I love that.
Or you can apply to grad schools abroad or master programs, or even look for your job when you graduate abroad. There's always new and exciting things to come after your exchange. It doesn't end there. It can keep going. So,
and just so you know, if you're applying to MBAs, let's say as an example, when you apply to go on exchange, when you're in grad school, is your very first semester. Like your first week of school in your grad program, you have to start doing the process to go on exchange. Okay? So yes, grad schools, you can go on exchange again. All right? Do it.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. But just know that if you're going to be doing it again, or if you don't end up doing it at the undergrad, but you put it off to you're in your MSc or your MBA, then it's the very first week you've got to start. And they look at your undergraduate performance usually to make a decision on your file, because they have to make a decision in your first semester to do exchanges in a graduate program.
Mm-hmm. So that is the end of our presentation. I think we have another half hour or so that we can answer questions. It's 11:30.
Yeah, at least. So I can be here for up to about 45 minutes.
I have my business card up here. You can come and take a business card, text me, email me, whatever. I'm available. I'm answering questions all the time. You can message me on Facebook. My name on Facebook is not the same as my business card because I'm hiding from employers for my embarrassing Facebook. But my name on Facebook is...
That's a good life tip, because what happens on Facebook stays on Facebook.
Yeah, especially when you're 14 years old and post like 3 status of the day and you don't have time to delete everything. So my name is Alice Liswell on Facebook. You can message me, and we'll be here for another half hour, 45 minutes to come answer questions. So, or if you have any questions right now, we can just take them at the table.
You said that meeting that was today at 3 that we have to go to, right?
Yep.
So
It's
I
today.
Class, I definitely just can't skip it and just go.
So you need to go and speak. I would leave, if you've got a conflict for the last information session today at Concordia International, I would go right now after you leave this meeting and speak to Concordia International. They may be willing to give you the PowerPoint. They may be willing to add an additional one, or they may just say, too bad, so sad, apply in June. JMSB does have an application in June 15th, for the winter semester.
I went yesterday, and their info session was all full, but they did say, and I can't go today, and they said you can leave your name and they'll send you the PowerPoint, and it looks like they're letting that be okay.
So,
but you do have to go to the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's everything to do with the application. It's Concordia International. They're the authority. So again, and I wouldn't say email, because I think they're exactly like us right now. They're getting hundreds of emails a day. I would say present yourself in person. And then follow up with an email maybe. and say, as per the discussion, I understood that with your ID, always use your Concordia ID whenever communicating with any office to follow up with whatever was said so you have it in writing as well. Yep.
Who could I speak to concerning I might go to university that would overlap on the winter semester? However, I'm in co-op, so in the winter semester I would get an internship.
Mhm.
I know if that would work if I could start my internship later. Who would I speak to?
So academically, so the question is, if you're doing a fall exchange and the exams, like sometimes they go well into January, and then you'd have a co-op, there's no problem academically. It doesn't matter to us that you're in exams in January because you're not coming back to an academic semester, so I don't have to make any allowances for you to return late. So you'd have to speak to your co-op advisor just to make sure that if you came back and started, let's say in the beginning of February, that you'll be able to get all of your time in. You might be working from 8 until 5 at your co-op to max your hours to get it into the time frame that they need. There's also agreements with, I think it's 34 countries. If you go onto the IEC website, there's now, and there's links in the JMSB CSEP Go Away Facebook page. I often link IEC, which is the Canadian government office. There's 34 countries around the world that have agreements now with students who go and study abroad. If you're gone for a study abroad semester, that you can get work permits to work in that country.